The Alliance of Concerned Men began, as you may mention, you gave the history aspects of it, but it was the same spirit in the contents of wanting to do something to make a major difference in the contents of violence and homicides within our city. So we primarily reached out to brothers. I primarily reached out to guys that I went to school with, guys that I grew up with, guys that knew the streets and understood it, but loved the District of Columbia and our youth. We began to go to the locations and go to the places that we saw where the violence was actually occurring at. The interesting thing about violence is usually so apparent until it's hard to overlook it. In the contents of the kids are usually standing out on the street corners or basically involved in different things that you know and you see every day. They in our correctional facilities, so it gives us an opportunity to circumvent it when they come home. So we created a plan, a strategical plan that we felt would make a difference. And to God be the glory. When we went into Ben Terrance, we made a major difference that basically stopped the violence and the contents of them killing each other. And as you may mention, Ben Terrance was considered to be one of the most dangerous places in the District of Columbia, where this state, over 50-some people was killed within a 4-year period of time. 2 gangs fighting each other, 5 blocks away from one another. They grew up together, but by virtue of circumstances and things that was occurring, they became enemies. So, you know, that was the perspective. But the key to it all was that when we went into this particular area and began to negotiate the truce and was able to bring them back, I'll never forget this, Red, as long as I live. A reporter from BT asked the kids, say, why did you listen to the Alliance and you did not listen to anybody else? And they replied, because nobody else came. And that is the common denominator today, Red. Even as you read off your numbers and homicides, 1 homicide is far too many. But at the same time, if you note that a large amount of these homicides are now occurring in Northeast and Northwest of Washington, D.C. The pendulum is swinging, and it is swinging by the perspective of you have intervention mediation programs that have been channeled into Ward 8 and Ward 7, where they had identified these places. And our programs are working, all of the programs, Red. So let me end right there by saying, we do have a solution. To God be the glory for that. We just have to have more people out there.
All right. And last Saturday night, Tyrone, you had a great function at the Omni Shore where it was your retirement celebration, your so-called retirement celebration, and the introduction of a new executive director. And I'm gonna ask you, Brother Parker, to introduce for us your successor right now.
We had the opportunity and the blessing to be able to pass the baton in a community 501c Black organization, previously ex-offender ran, stayed around for 30 years, to be able to pass it to a young, strong Black man that is committed and loves his people and is spiritually led. Terrance Staley has a heart and a commitment to our community, and it will go on. There will not be a period. This is a comma. Terrance Staley.
Amen, amen. And Terrance, come on here and tell us a little bit about the challenges. You know, sometimes when you assume a position, there's a sort of a worry that's associated with that. Share with us right now, how does it feel to take this position, to be the successor, and what do you see as the challenges for ACM?
Well, thank you for having me on, Reverend. Thank you so much. And Mr. Tyrone Parker, you know I love you, sir.
Yes, sir.
And to speak about challenges, I don't think that there's any greater challenge than the restoration of our community. And when this was given to me from Mr. Parker, and I worked for it for sure, volunteered with ACM for 6 years before I even was employed. But the challenge is to professionalize the work that we do when it comes to violence interruption, credible messengers, community workers, and outreach workers. That's the challenge. The sustainability of the work from a governmental approach is the challenge. Every day we deal with youth, at least 100 youth a week in the District of Columbia. And these youth are victims and perpetrators of violence. So we have our conflict resolution. We first started it. It's a little backdrop. We first started it and we had our first session, and then we have them on Wednesdays and Fridays from 5 to 7. And the young man, he walked up to me, he said, Mr. Terrance, can I pull you to the side for a sec? I said, yes, no problem. Talk to me. So he started talking, and then he lifted up his shirt. He had staples, all at least 12 to 15 staples, from the middle of his stomach down to his gut. And he had just been shot a couple of days ago. But that wasn't the premise of the conversation. He said, Mr. Terrance, I promise I'll never miss a session. I'll be here every time. I'm sorry, I didn't make it last week. And I said, brother, that's just consequential. Thank you for being here, right? Go back and, in there, get some pizza, chill out with your folks. So he went back in there, and we only supposed to have 20 people on the caseload, per requirement, right? But we had 41 youth in there, all from Greenway in a centralized location. And a little backdrop on that, Greenway is the location of the mass shooting that took place a year prior. So we had to do some work there, and we were blessed enough to be able to receive funds to do so. Prior to that, we had lobbied to get funds for Greenway, and it never occurred. But when the tragedy happened, God opened doors for us. So he went back into the room, and he felt empowered based on our conversation. And he stood up and he told the rest of the youth, in the middle of the class, in the middle of the session, he said, I've been shot last week, this week, 2 days ago. And he lifted up his shirt and he showed him. And then another youth said, hey, I got shot 2 days ago too. So 2 youth have been shot getting conflict resolution training and violence mitigation training at the Alliance of Concerned Men for the conflict resolution manual that we provide. So this is the impact that we have on the community. And the challenge is to be able to sustain that. During our process of implementing this, there was a short time where, funds were not as frequent and we had to take a break. We had a serious impact in Greenway. And during the time frame where we had to let up for a moment due to resources, there was a shooting, there was a murder, there was a robbery. We kicked back in. Now there's no crime at all for the time frame that we're working. We've only been back at this full speed for a month and a half. So what we're doing is working. The partnerships and the relationships we have across the city and strategically next to us to mitigate violence. We have transitioned past a preventive. We're more in a quality of life violence-free zone. We're able to do that because of the partnerships, the relationships, and the strategic emplacement of our people in a specific location. But it has to be a village approach to public safety. We are historically a village people. We can't separate ourselves from our African ancestry because that is who we are. We have to be able to relay a message, just like social media, right? You say one thing twice and it means the same thing to the same person that they said it to. We are implementing conflict resolution strategies in a geographic location. Grandmother, aunt, brother, mother, sister, cousin, little brother, little cousin are all saying the same thing: how to resolve conflict and have a better quality of life. And that is how you get to a violence-free zone, to eradicate violence. And that's where we are now. And that's because of the work that Mr. Parker started so long ago. My generation, millennials, we always want to, make something new, right? Reinvent something, cross something out and then say, okay, let's do it our way. But we have to learn to respect and honor our ancestors. And it's even...
Go ahead, finish your thought.
And it's even more of a blessing when your ancestors and the people that taught you are right next to you. We can't take that piece away. The same model that we're using now in Greenway is the same model that was started back in Benning Terrace. The same funder that did it back in Benning Terrace is the same funder that is assisting us right now, the Woodson Center. Now that is strategically God, but we have to be open to that process.
I want to ask this question. What do you see as you talk about two young men in the same group, both shot, right? A couple days apart from each other. I'm going to ask you and Brother Parker this question. What do you think is the alienation that is taking place in our communities that continues to make violence a everyday staple?
So to bring that into full fold, the shooting that took place in Greenway was Greenway shooting. It wasn't outside looking in, coming in. It was a Greenway shooting. So there's different generational beefs and indignation that has occurred. And a lot of that trauma and what the conflict resolution does, it affects the household. It teaches the youth how to mitigate conflict in their own home. Some of these youth have carrying knives in their home, guns in their home to protect themselves from the people that they love. So why would they step out the house and provide their neighbor grace when they haven't received that grace before they left out that door? So if we're able to teach that youth conflict resolution, that youth resonates that information to their family members, conflict resolution, when they step out that door, they'll give their ancestral brothers and sisters more grace. And that's the solution. And it's also the problem, right? You have to mitigate conflict inside that home first. We can instill all we can into a youth. We can get them a degree. We can have them be professionals at violence mitigation. We can turn them into outreach workers, violence interrupters. When they go back to where they live, that processee is not conducive to the environment that they're forced to live in. We have to assist them and make them so resilient that they are able to matriculate in both areas, right? In peace and in injustice, and then pass that information to those that are closest to them so they can see that it's conducive for the life. Mr. Parker said, he always tells me, this has to be bread. They got to eat. So how are we able to assist them in that process? We give them a stipend, so they're not going out doing petty things to get petty dollars to maintain one good meal a day, right? That stipend, that $15 that they're getting, that $25 that they get in a week, that is a full meal. That pizza that they're coming to get Wednesday and Friday, that supplements food, right? You have to be holistic. It has to be a holistic approach to public safety. There's not one way of doing this. But you must provide that bread with the education, right? They have to be able to eat with that education. And then that will give them a better process when they're going forward.
Brother Parker, you want to comment on the same issue? What's that hunger, that alienation?
And Terrance is saying exactly what we are doing. And to answer it in the perspective, we are broadening that perspective in the context of making it wider, teaching individuals as to how to deal with conflict, how to resolve their differences, how to begin to see value in other individuals. This is the perspective that we're looking at, to be able to broaden that perspective so that not only is it occurring in our immediate areas, we want to be able to have this conflict resolution concept spread it all across the city, in the schools, in our correctional facilities, on the street corners, all working at the same time and at once. So when an individual becomes aggravated or bothered about something, at least they will have something to build on. We want to be the church that's outside on the sidewalks, carrying the spirit of transformation. And it can happen. It is happening now. We see, and I'm being repetitious, as you go back to look at the numbers and what's occurring, you got to say what is going on. But even one step further than that, and I don't want to really confuse the conversation. In 1991, when we first started the Alliance of Concerned Men, The homicide rate in the District of Columbia was 484 homicides a year. We as a community, a larger community, as Terrance has stated, the police, the government, community workers, the church came together. And in 2012, was able to reduce it to 88 homicides within the District of Columbia. So the District of Columbia came from the murder capital of the USA to one of the 10 best places in the country to live in the USA. And this is fact. This is not an illusion. This is reality. So the roadmap is there, and we are beginning to implement that roadmap. We are capturing the attention of those who have the resources to broaden the perspective.
Which, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to What's at Stake on WPFW FM 89.3. I'm Reverend Graylin Scott Hagler, your host every second Wednesday of the month. We are talking today with Tyrone Parker and Terrance Staley of the Alliance of Concerned Men. Now, I want to ask you a question because that's a perfect lead-in, Brother Parker, what you just said. We're in the midst of a political season in DC. Everybody's running for office. Everybody's trying to get a position in government. And what are some of the issues that anyone running for office should be addressing right now? That's for both of you.
Well, Terrance, if you want to, I can start it. Okay.
Go ahead, sir, and I'll caveat.
I think from the perspective that I see it at, it's definitely quality of living. We must begin to look at how do we lift the quality of living and for those who have basically been left out. I think that in the context of looking at quality of living, we got to be able to have affordable housing. We got to be able to have employment and training. We got to be able to have better health services for our people. We got to be able to be more compassionate, and not just simply because of an election, but because we know the needs to be able to lift up people up. Let all the boats rise at the same time. And these are the things. And then balance. I think that once we're able to assure the quality of living, the sustainability of a quality life, then the perspective of balance will decrease. That would be part of what I would look at from the beginning. Let's look at how do we lift the people up with the basic needs. And I say this in the faces may be new in the contents of the needs, but the needs are still the same. The faces are new, but the needs are very much the same. You got it from here, young man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And so I'm no politician, and I have no desire to be. So I am transparent. And I sat in on a forum for the AG's office with Moms Demand Action in every town that they hosted, and Next Level Vision under the banner of Mr. Shola. And they spoke and they said what they desired to do. And once I had the closing thoughts, and I said, where is the ingenuity? You know, they spoke about, and I'm not going to speak any names, but they spoke about locking our youth up. They spoke about being hard on crime. They spoke about what was been done before. And it kept coming to mind, you know, Carl Racine was so creative in his approach. He used ingenuity in his approach. He didn't settle for the status quo for political reasons. And I encourage those running for Attorney General to be ingenuitive in their approach to public safety for the city. Cure Violence was brought. The Credible Messenger still exists. These programs that have lasting generational relationships. So to bring it home, the Credible Messenger Initiative, we are on there. We're a provider for the Credible Messenger Initiative, and we're assigned youth from the Department of Youth and Rehabilitation Services. And So we receive the youth for mentorship for various crimes. You can imagine how serious. And we provide them mentorships, but also there's a wraparound services, a suite of services, which includes the family, right? So we also have little brothers and sisters coming to the events as we service the youth. Moms and dads are coming to life skills, being relocated if possible from their certain situation based off of the services provided to the youth. There is a generational touch, right? A full service approach to public safety through that initiative. Through Cure Violence off of 4th and 6th Street, our team, they were able to have 124 days of no shooting back when the pandemic first started and created the truce over Zoom, right? These things are happening. And for these programs to not exist is a travesty. Now, let's see how we can improve these programs. Let's see how we can professionalize these programs. Let's see how we can get the next generation to learn from our efforts, right? To pass this down a generation for public safety. And that's what I encourage these politicians to really see and to do, to build off of what is there and to professionalize it so that this can be what reparations looks like for our people.
Thank you, Brother Terrance. You're a great communicator, by the way. I just want to point that out, just publicly acknowledge that you are just very clear in terms of your ability to articulate the types of things that are going on and the types of things that we need to address. So I want to thank you for that. We're going to take a short break for a moment. We have a PSA that we want to put on the air. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Terrance Staley and Tyrone Parker, and we invite you to join in on our discussion with your questions, your comments. You can dial at 202-588-0893, 202-588-0893. We'll take a short break for our PSA at this point.
The best in live music entertainment is coming to Bethesda Blues and Jazz Supper Club. Acclaimed keyboardist Kiko Matsui with special guests Art Sherrod Jr. and Brian Lanier will perform Thursday, April 14th. The doors will open for dinner at 6 p.m. and showtime is 8 p.m. Kiko Matsui is renowned for her spectacular performances featuring a unique blend of contemporary jazz, new age music, and international rhythms that uplift the soul. Don't miss Kiko Matsui with Art Sherrod Jr. and Brian Lanier on Thursday, April 14th. Get more info at bbjlive.com or call the box office at 240-330-4500. WPFW is proud to be a media partner with Bethesda Blues and Jazz Supper Club.
Welcome back. You are listening to What's at Stake, WPFW 89.3 FM. I'm Reverend Graylin Scott Hagler, your host every second Wednesday of the month. And we are talking with Brother Tyrone Parker and Terrance Staley of the Alliance of Concerned Men. And we want to invite you to join in on the discussion with questions, comments. You can dial 202-588-0893, 202-588-0893. Now, I'm going to ask this question for both of you. What is lacking right now in our society? You've already outlined some of that. But what is lacking in our society that just sort of creates this alienation and makes violence a continued commonplace that in the society? What is that? What is that goes on? Because I think at one time, folks would settle stuff with fists. A good fight. Now it's shoot somebody across the street, down the street. What is that hunger that is out there? Why is that there? That's an illness that has gripped this society. With this proliferation of guns and a refusal by anybody that's in any leadership to talk constructively about how you begin to control the flow of firearms and weapons in communities.
Terrance, you want to take it? After coming out that conference, you just came out of the other day.
Yes. So on Monday, so ACM has been blessed to be added to the presidential initiative on task force on public safety. And so I had the privy of being at the White House on Monday for his announcement on the approach to gun safety and the different laws he is writing into place to ensure that our country is safe from ghost guns. And I believe the approach is efficient that they're taking. But I do know that the reason why they're using these guns, that has not yet been added to the equation. To get rid of them, to get rid of the sellers, to penalize those that are buying, to put serial numbers onto those weapons from dealers that do receive ghost guns, that's a requirement. There's different things that they're putting in place to slow down the proliferation of ghost guns, but the reason why they are being used is not being addressed. There is a sense of hopelessness that has plagued our people. When you don't have the minimal resources to take care of yourself, when you can't take a shower, right? There's certain things, and today when I got up, and I thought about, how you get up and how you start your day resonates on how your day will go and your interactions with everyone, whether you're receptive or not, or, whether you want to be bothered, whether you want the door closed, these things. And this is a small comment, but if you think about how it affects gun violence, it makes total sense. If you don't feel clean, if you're not clean, you're not going to do clean things. If you don't do right, if there's indignation continuous in your life, there's nothing positive that's going to come from that. There has to be positive, there has to be hope, there has to be some kind of resilience that pushes you towards doing the right thing and peace inside your community. If you are constantly at war, constant threats, why would you value where you live? If every time you walk on the corner, you hear gunshots, right? If you see people using drugs, what makes you value where you live? If every time you are abused and no one comes to your rescue, what makes you choose peace?
Yeah.
So the reason why these things are happening is not being addressed yet. But I can tell you that through our approach, through conflict resolution, this is a start.
How does displacement in DC feed into all this? Displacement of communities?
Well, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
No, please go, Terrance.
Well, Mr. Parker hit on it earlier, and I know he's gonna touch back on it. Gentrification does not save you from the ills of indignation. The constant support from violence interrupters and outreach workers, incredible messengers in Southeast DC has changed the trajectory. And that there's been a study done by Brother Muhammad that speaks to that.
All right.
Northwest DC, which has been gentrified the most in the district, is at times, 45 days ago, the murder capital of the District of Columbia. And in stints, this is happening. So the displacement of our people has caused a lack of any continuity or respect for where we live, and we feel disrespected in addition, not just by the beef that we currently have, but by the city. So no one is safe in this type of environment, as you can see,
Right.
No matter where you live or where you stay. But I know Mr. Parker can elaborate on that some more.
Mr. Parker.
I think Terrance had done an excellent job in the contents of coining the fact that gentrification, it has an impact, but in the contents of the balance, it doesn't make a difference because the balance is still escalating in one of the most gentrification areas in our city.
Right.
But we're seeing the homicides and the numbers go up. So that tells you exactly, to a large degree, for the sake of this conversation pertaining to balance, where the solutions are at. Our solutions are basically to be able to change the quality of living and the quality of people's life. That's the beginning of this conversation. And how do we begin to do it? We don't have the whole pie. We're not the silver bullet, but at the same time, we understand what a comprehensive approach look like for the greater good of the people that we are serving and what the impact of it will be. That's what we come. We come to bring back good news during bad times.
Good. We have a caller on the line. I want that caller to join in with the conversation. Good morning. You're welcome to What's at Stake.
Hey, good morning. How are you? Can you all hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Yes, good morning.
All right, great. First of all, this is Nana Malaya. Hi, Reverend Hagler. Hello.
How you doing?
How you doing? And Terrance, I haven't met you. I look forward to it. I want to congratulate you both for the wonderful work that you do in the community. And Terrance, I'm one of those warriors as well. Anytime any of you need my help, I'm going to make sure you got my new number. You can call me because an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. We can't keep arresting people after the fact, and they've done that over the last 25 years, and that hasn't done anything. Mother Teresa, she said, you can't have a war on something and expect it to be successful. She said, you have to focus on what you want. If you focus on war, you'll get that. You focus on drugs, you'll get that. So we got to focus on peace and resolution and solutions. And oftentimes when we come together in these groups, we talk about the problems and spend 5 minutes on the solutions. So the solutions are what you're talking about. Conflict resolution, mediation. I also do that. I've had lots of programs, conflict resolution, especially using the arts as a way for them to utilize both information, music, drama, and ways to relate to both adults as well as young people. And those are some of the things. I mean, I remember midnight basketball, that created a whole great environment. And a lot of things weren't happening when our young people were busy, So the access to guns is something we can't control to a certain extent. The access to drugs to a certain extent. And I say that because if they didn't want it in our communities, it wouldn't be in there. Right. And somebody asked me, they said, try and find a Cuban cigar in the community, and you can't find a Cuban cigar, but you can find anything else that's derelict and that's neglectful. And when they change these communities, I don't drink, but I was going to get some alcohol for a friend. I went over to like the Columbia Road area now that's been regentrified. I had to walk 6 blocks to find a liquor store. And unfortunately, we know, and Salim Adolfo and, many others have been trying to get the proliferation of those kind of things out of our neighborhoods as well, because we know those kind of things are where people are taking advantage economically. And of course, if you're down and trodden and you see a liquor store and you see the example of people drinking for resolution instead of other positive actions, they'll take them. So I bless you, and hopefully we can get people and celebrities. I want to mention one other thing. Look up on Instagram, Just Heal Bro, JUSTHEALBRO. My son, who's an actor, and several other actors, celebrities, athletes, are looking to get Black men of all ages together so they can start dealing with these issues. They'll come to any city, and it's a free interactive program with, people, yes, social work, counselors, all that. So I'll leave my number if you got any more questions, but we definitely have to get on this because I'm tired of talking about that. Tyrone, my son got killed up there in Simple City. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We need to stop having this conversation, but we got to get to the source. We got to tear out the root, and the weed will be dead.
Right.
Thank you so much. Good to hear your voice this morning. Thank you so much.
Good to hear from you.
Yes. We have another caller. You could go and address what she was talking about, but we're going to go to another caller while we have another caller on the line. Good morning. Welcome to What's at Stake.
Good morning, WPFW family. Dr. Kai Patterson on this end, Brother Tyrone and Reverend Hagler. Hey, I love both of you all. These are my big brothers and my elders in the community. And, I just appreciate the representation and what you guys have done. And I just attempt to do the same things as you very well know, working with Mr. Parker, going in and out of the penitentiaries, talking with the young men, the elder men, brothers and sisters within those facilities. I remember when we had 1010 down on North Capitol, and we used to roll up in there. So it's real important for us to have that contact with those brothers and sisters in the penal institutions so that when they come out, they have already established some relationships. So the Alliance of Concerned Men, as well as Reverend Hagler, you know, the church up there on North Capitol, that's what we call him, the church up on North Capitol. You know, that brother has been doing and has been standing for our community as it relates to gentrification and gas stations and all that other crazy stuff out there, and developing senior citizens' homes. So again, it takes a village to do this. And you all know I'm into health and using acupuncture and herbs and diet and nutrition to deal with the anger, to deal with the grief, to deal with all of the confusion, as well as setting up educational programs in the community to continue to do that. I will continue to support you, Brother Tyrone. I will continue to support you, Reverend Hagler, and you all keep what's going on. Thank you all so much. And WPFW, my Ace Boone Coon radio station.
Great to hear your voice this morning.
Yes, you know, Kakai, Dr. Kakai is a hero of the community, the foundation of the work that needs to be done, and continue to do it. This brother do not quit. He does not know how to heal.
And the family, obviously, the family is calling in this morning. So we got two more callers on the line. So I'm going to the next caller and just welcome you into What's at Stake. Just share your comment.
My name is Catherine Hargrove. I wanted to thank Mr. Parker. I've known him since the 90s when he was doing the work. He is phenomenal. He has concern for youth. And thank Terrance, who I do not know. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
You definitely got to know Terrance as well. So we want to look forward to that. And the other thing that I want to point out is that you're also involved in a major fundraising effort for Alliance of Concerned Men, right? You're trying to raise $1 million by the first of the year. Is that correct?
Yes, $1 million by the first of the year and 3.2 in the next 3.5 years. So this is to sustain the programs that we have. So there's not a lot of times when organic approach to public safeties exist. And when it does exist, that's how partnerships and a suite of services can be provided in an effective manner. A lot of times they have these different programs and they have their box that they're in. There's certain things that you can't do. There's certain lines that you can't cross. There's certain people that you can't service because they don't fit the demographic of the caseload that's required for them for the grant. With an organic approach to public safety, those ills are dispelled. We can get with the family and say, what do you need? We can get with the youth and say, how can we assist you? And if they aren't participating, they might not be ready at that moment. But through that organic approach, we can walk that down with them. We can bring them into a family. So that's a family approach to public safety, to never give up on those that we're dealing with.
I'm going to go to another caller. We have another caller on the line. Good morning. Welcome to What's at Stake.
They dropped, Reverend.
Okay, so they dropped off the line. But anyway, I stopped you short, I think, a little bit because I was trying to make sure that everybody who was on the line could make a comment. But I wanted to point this out as we sort of continue to go forth. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to What's at Stake. I'm Reverend Graywood Scott Hagler. And our guest today is Terrance Staley and Tyrone Parker of the Alliance of Concerned Men. And I want to just ask this question. Tell everybody out there exactly how they can get involved and what they can get involved doing, and ways in which to get in touch, and ways in which to plug in.
Let me start it off by following up on what Terrance stated. In order for us to be able to stay and to build and to widen the loop in regards to the people that we are serving, and not to be in a box that restrict the ability to aid more people or to build a better foundation, we've got to have our own resources. Because if we don't have our own resources, we are in a square, we're in a box. We've been told on individuals that we can work with and individuals that we can't work with. When Sister Catherine said, this is a village approach. And the village approach is an approach where all is involved, giving love and giving concern and giving them the support. And in order for us to be able to do this, we must have the ability to have resources so that we can perform liquid change at the same time. That's the spirit. Terrance, tell them, how can they support Yes.
So the way that they can get in contact with us is allianceofconcernedmen.org. And we have Instagram at Alliance of Concerned Men, and we're also on Twitter at Alliance of Concerned Men. That is the best way to get in contact with us, to see the work that we do. We do come out with a newsletter. There's one coming out at the end of this month. So you're able to have that information as well to see what we're doing in the community. This coming Saturday, we actually have a Easter event. We're going to be having an Easter egg hunt, a barbecue, a moon bounce. We're going to have live music in our office, 32227 Du Bois Place. So come on by and see what we do. If you have, an interest in meeting the demographic that we're working with, please come by. We are a family, so you will receive the love that they get, and they will give it to you vice versa. Greenway is a violence-free zone, so it doesn't matter what part of the city that you're in. Once you come into the ACM office, you're going to be loved, and that's what we push with.
All right. We have another caller on the line. I want to get to that caller, allow them to get a comment in. Good morning. Welcome to What's at Stake.
Reverend Hagler.
Yes.
This is Hubert Abad, and I've been listening to the show for years, and I'm very interested in what you're talking about today, but I think we have to take a broader approach that's more systemic, that we involve all of the family in getting good health assessments. And not, Jesus was a healer also spiritually, but also physically. So we need to make sure that when we have these problems with this youth, do we get the youth into a healthcare system to make sure that he has a health assessment, both mentally and physically, so that they can become complete. And when you feel good about yourself, you can feel good about others.
Yes.
And that to me is very, very key. That what happens, we isolate all these little pods and we pull the person apart based on funding. What we should be doing is putting people together. For example, Unity Healthcare System is a federally funded community health center program for the District of Columbia. I don't hear anything from them doing anything for anybody. So I think we have to begin to make these points begin to relate to each other so that we can begin to have a comprehensive approach and not just a single approach to violence. Violence is a byproduct of good health.
Thank you for that comment, and thank you for your good analysis of the situation. Somebody comment on that.
And he's absolutely correct. We've got to be able to go on in more directions in regards to balance. It's got to be a mental health. It's got to be able to make the conditions in which individuals are living in far more profound in regards to sustainability. We got to be able to give people training, educational components so that they'll be able to earn dollars, be able to earn money. And as well as that, we got to teach them as to how to do financial management. We got a lot of work on our hands that we got to do. But at the same time, when our community is living in environments where all they hear on is rap songs, talking about, I'm gonna kill you and you ain't this, you ain't that. And they seeing each other, calling each other all types of names that's out of contents. And they're looking at movies that are constantly embracing a destruction of themselves and of their family. The environment that they are living in there is toxic. So we got to be able to transform these environments, transform the people, and through the Spirit of God is the foundation we believe as well. The spiritual aspects of this is essentially important. It's a combination of components. All the alliance, we do not have the silver bullet, but the work that we do, we believe in, and we know it can help to make it success. Sustainability is important. This is why the $100 million, this is why the $1 million campaign is essentially important. We got to have resources to be able to sustain the work on a consistent basis. Just as I stated, if we were able to turn the homicide rates down and stop it in 2012 to 88, why did it get to this point that it got to now? It got there because the sustainability dollars was not there. The maintenance dollars was not there to continue the impact of the work dropped off the radar screen.
And it shows you where we lack in priorities, right? We lack in priorities in terms of putting money where money is going to actually be the most benefit, most positive. On the other side, I don't know if you saw the story, but Kushner, Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of the former whatever he was, right, gets $5 billion, $5 billion for a company that hasn't done anything, from the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, because they would not deal with him over the murder of Khashoggi. Now, isn't that amazing? $5 billion.
$5 billion.
Billion,
What we can do with that?
Not million, $billion to cover up a murder, basically, to cover up a murder. And here we are trying to bring peace to the community, healing to the community, wholeness to the community, and a dollar is hard to come by. And that just shows you the hypocrisy of the country and the hypocrisy of the nation. It's just like, and I think you know this, Brother Parker and Brother Staley, we've been talking about a halfway house for men, returning citizens. Every politician talk about how they love returning citizens, except they don't want anything in their neighborhood.
That's right.
And so it's the hypocrisy over and over again. And so that's what we're battling around, is sort of get rid of the hypocrisy. Let's be honest. Let's put money where we need to put money at. That's going to produce lives and not produce death.
And they will ask for our votes. They won't allow for our children to come and live back in the communities from which they are from, in the contents of halfway houses. How does it add up to ask for the vote, and then do not want the children to come back home to halfway houses to begin a fresh new start? I mean, we got some work we got to do, but we can do it.
We can do it together, together. And that's the important thing, together in unity. And we will be together in unity. We're almost out of time. Brother Terrance, give us some quick closing remarks. We only have a few minutes left.
God is the same God he has been with Mr. Parker. When he started his work, he's the same God here and now. And he is going to see fit that his people are taken care of. And he has put people in the community like Reverend Hagler, Mr. Parker, the late great Rico Rush, the other founders, to give us a roadmap of what this work looks like, to teach us, to instill it into us, to where we live and we breathe it. That is who the Alliance is now. We are servicing 100 youth per week, all victims and perpetrators of violence.
Thank you so much. We are out of time. I want to thank you, Terrance Staley and Tyrone Parker, for being with us this morning. I thank you, the audience, for joining me this morning. I look forward to being with you again on the second Wednesday of the month. I would like to thank our engineer, Michael Nasala, and the entire WPFW community. I can't wait to be with you again. Be empowered, be uplifted, and be blessed, knowing that we have a lot to get done, and we will do it. Take care.
Dr. Kakai and Joe Patterson, God be the glory as a community that has learned. Thank you, Reverend Patterson.
Thank you, Reverend Hagler. Thank you for having me.
Thank y'all so much. Great show. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
All right. Have a good one.
Okay, Brother Terrance, that's